Everybody, I'm Joe Killinger. I'm a real estate investor and entrepreneur, and we put these videos together every week to give you all the tips and insights from my experience over the last several years. So make sure you tune in and subscribe, and thank you.
Hey, there's an 18-year-old or 19-year-old student going, I want a construction loan.
I applied to the bank. I did not have a car at the time.
Everybody, thank you for tuning in. Today I've got a very interesting guest. It's him and I have a lot of similarities in the way we started our business. And kind of the slow growth, but, well, not that slow, I guess. You've done a lot faster than I did. But, really knows how to build a business. If you're really getting into development, Nick has some great ways, some advice for you to really get you on a good path to getting started. So, Nick, thank you for coming on today.
Well, thanks for having me, Joe. I appreciate it.
Yeah, your story is, as I was saying, is very similar to my business partners and mine. You know, we started off one property and then sold that one and bought in a couple more. And so it's pretty interesting that we have such a similar path. But, Nick, if you could take a few minutes and tell us about yourself and your company and what you're doing, please.
Sure. Yeah, I'm a real estate developer and investor, and I work in the Maryland and Mid-Atlantic market. I focus on really large construction projects or value add repositioning of multifamily. And that's kind of been an organic transition for us as we've shifted away from commercial and really started to focus more on the multifamily properties over the past few years. And we really try to make sure that every property that we touch is significantly better than when we got it. We find that that's our niche, and we have a lot of fun doing it.
Oh, good. So now you started off with just one property, right? A single family home, is that how it started?
Yeah, it started out, it was in the recession. I bought a foreclosure. It was $35,000, and I think I put $30,000 into it, and it was all sweat equity. Maybe a little bit of contractor work, but it was aggressive. I mean, I think every member of the family and friends, and they were all roped into it, and they didn't come on the second, third, and fourth. They were like, no, that's favor used.
Yes. Well, I just think it's so key that you start off that way, because you go in, you tear the property apart, you see what's underneath the drywall, you understand plumbing, you understand electrical. So when you're down the road and you've got several properties and you're talking to a contractor, your maintenance team, you know what the hell they're talking about.
It's
so much better to have that experience.
Yeah, it really makes a difference.
So it does. Now, you are focused on new construction, or you have rehab projects as well, right?
Yeah, both. So I've done ground up homes, I've done ground up commercial buildings, but also the rehab as well. So we're opportunistic. Right now I'm working on a 86 unit ground up development. So we tore down the existing buildings that were in the locations, but we're also looking at future projects that are just repositioning of the existing assets. So open to whatever works in the area, and it depends on what you can buy it for, really.
Sure. Now, what is your focus? Are you just around the Maryland area and that's it?
Yeah, we stick to the Maryland Mid-Atlantic area for now. I mean, we are looking at potentially going to the Southeast, but want to really build a robust portfolio before branching out too much.
Okay. How many projects do you guys have going right now?
We've got two going on. This 86 unit one has slowed us down a little bit with COVID. We were supposed to be a little bit further along, but we decided to pump the brakes and go a little bit more of the conservative route. We were at the demo phase and we could have started construction, but neighboring states were actually shutting construction down, and it's a student housing project. So if we didn't deliver on time, I'm calling 300 kids, telling them that they're going to live in a hotel. It just didn't seem like a wise move. So we decided to pump the brakes, and we're picking it back up here now. And that'll be done in August of 2022. So we'll be adding a couple more projects in the start of 2021. But we've got one big one and a small one going right now.
Okay. So now your focus is just student housing, or do you do other multifamily assets as well?
The student housing and multifamily. We like to get both. So,
Okay.
yeah, we used to do a lot of commercial, like tenant fit out type of work, but looking long term, you look at technology, you look at the risk you have. Certainly, there are longer leases, and you can put people in place in kind of leave them alone more than you would in multifamily. But long term, I didn't like the risk that the portfolio was building, and some people are really set up for it. I just felt like multifamily was more of a fit. So.
Yeah. I want to kind of go back to where you started, because a lot of people, I talk to a good number of people around the country, and they've got a few $1,000s. They think they really can't start. I mean, how did you finance your first deal?
Local banks is a great first.
Local banks.
Yeah, I would really look. Bank of America is not going to be as flexible. So I went to a really small local bank, and I was in college at the time. I think I had $7,000 that I put down into the project. I mean, it was a small amount, like just a few $1,000s, and I had a few thousand saved.
That was probably your life savings at the time.
Yeah, it was. It was just something to get started. I didn't have, like a deep bench. I didn't have like a ton of money or family, income or something like that to support me. So it was just something I felt really passionate about. And what did I have to lose is kind of the way I looked at it. So, so the local banks were much more accommodating. They gave us a construction loan, so we didn't have to like pay for the $30,000 of the construction out of our own pocket. And I think a lot of people don't realize that they can finance those repairs as a part of the deal.
Sure.
And we just got started really small, and then we actually that house came with a lot next to it that hadn't been subdivided. So I got to go through the zoning process really early, and I got the lot subdivided and sold that for more than I had put down on the house. So it was
nice.
It was a pretty lucky one, I guess, but you got to get lucky, every once in a while.
Yeah. Yep, exactly. Now, did you know this banker, or did you just walk in the bank one day as an 18-year-old or 19-year-old student going, I want a construction loan?
I biked to the bank. I did not have a car at the time. I put the bike around the back of the building. I put a suit on, and I said, I want a loan.
Did you have a business plan, or how did you get in front of this banker?
Oh, sure. Yeah, I know it was a cold call. I said, I have a house. Really? I want to get it done. I had the whole business plan. I did have to get my dad to sign on it because they
sure.
But it was under $100,000, and that was within her ability to approve. So it really just started. And at $70,000, I think the payment was like $550 or something. I mean, it wasn't like something that was going to break me, even if I had to go get a part-time job to keep it going.
I love to hear the story at the local bank. And now, obviously, you're probably still friends with this person, right?
Oh, sure, yeah.
Do you still do business with them?
It not as much, but I definitely have done a ton of business with the local banks, and they helped me for the first 5 years. Pretty much, that's all I've worked with. Now I'm working with some of the larger banks and the Fannie Freddie type lenders, but it's all, they all have their place in the market. So.
Oh, and it's all relationship based. Everything you're doing is once you've built that trust.
I didn't realize that was so big. Once you build it and you become a regular name, they approve loans much more quickly than I expected. It is still relationship banking.
Yeah, yep, I agree. And you want to get in and just keep going back to that same well and keep proving yourself, and your loan amounts can get bigger and bigger and maybe a little more risk. So, yeah. All right, so now let's talk about your company you've built to now. We know how you started. You were a scrappy little kid on a bicycle to how big is your company now?
Well, I
know you've got the 2 development deals going.
Yeah, so we try to keep, as far as employees and contractors, we tend to keep.
Yeah, how many employees do you have right now?
it's just me and our office manager admin, and we just keep the overhead down. Everything else is as needed. So a lot of W-9 workers.
Yep.
And
You haven't brought in, you aren't doing in-house construction team yet then?
we did an in-house construction team. I had about 14 people at that time at one point, and we did that probably for between years 3 through 6. But we found that the projects were getting bigger, and I started partnering with individuals that had a lot more construction experience. So one of my partners now has a construction company where I think he has 80 to 100 employees. They have built, 80 to $100 million properties. They do big business. So he's the construction expert, and I kind of defer to him now. And I have banking partners that I defer to them on banking terms. So I tried to really grow. Just over the years, you just build the relationships. It's not something that happens overnight, but I have fun doing it and keeps the ball moving. You have to have those contacts that you can rely on, and you don't have to have a ton of people sitting in your company. I recommend you don't. Yeah, me too. You keep that overhead low. It's key, because you never know what's going to happen. I mean, with everything going on, and I think we're in a time right now where we can really see that things change, So now when you're building a project, Nick, can you tell me what your main focus is on? You see a lot, you're starting to draw plans. What is your focus on? Do you focus on the amenities, size of units, or all of that? Yeah, we try to do a kind of a best-in-class product when we're done. So we want it to be energy efficient. We want quality amenities. We want it to be convenient. So there's got to be parking or whatever that particular item is for that property. It's available to the tenants. It doesn't make a lot of sense to build things that aren't, really useful. So I gave an example, or I went and visited a friend a few weeks ago, and they had put a track light in this brand new $2,600 a month apartment. The developer had put a track light in the kitchen, and they hated it. But when I went to the hallway, they have these really, really ornate, fancy fixtures in the hallway, and it was like that was the disconnect between the architect and what was actually good for the tenant. So it was like, that's what we try to focus on, is actually giving the tenant something that they want, something that they need, and actually use. Because that sales process, you can send them a nice brochure and sell them on it and get them in there, but you want them to renew, because that's where you really start to see, the power of the scale, and you save, it goes to the bottom line. Absolutely. What now? Why don't you tell us about the Ross? It's in Maryland near a college, right? Yep. So we're breaking ground. How many units is it? It's 86 units, and we have a rooftop cafe that'll be 2,500. I think it's about 2,500 square feet, so it's pretty small. We try to keep the retail component much smaller, especially nowadays. Trying to fill up 20,000 square feet wouldn't be the advantageous. And we have 300 beds. We're serving the Salisbury University, a state-owned college. They're growing to 10,000 students over the next few years, and we have a really neat marquee project in downtown. It's going to be the tallest building in the area and really give that urban style view. We'll have rooftop decks, and it's just a fun project to work on. And there's a lot of excitement from the students for the project to be completed and come live. Hey, you're really making a name for yourself in that community. If you're building a property like that in what I'm assuming is probably a fairly small town. Yeah, so everybody's gonna know where that building is. You won't miss it. That's for sure. Not here. Yeah. So. Yeah, and especially have great amenities like a rooftop bar. Now, during the wintertime in Maryland, you have some space heaters, I suppose. It would be enclosed in a good portion of it? Yeah, so our roof actually has probably about 7,000 or 8,000 square feet of inside amenity space. A nice game room and common area room, but it also has a nice probably about 4,000 square foot outside space as well. So, we really gave some good space for the tenants. something that you would want to use. That's kind of the way I look at how I develop properties. Would I like this? Would I like that bathroom fixture, or that lighting component, or that amenity? Would I use it? And that's another part of it. Would I actually use it? So it's an important piece to it, because the people you're serving, they're people. They're not just an ATM. You gotta take care of them.
Yep, remember they're human. Are you putting a pool in?
So in Maryland, it's kind of a back and forth. Do you put the pool in at a student housing project because they're not here during the summer, or do you spend the money somewhere else? So we decided with a much larger fitness center and a lot more study rooms. These independent study rooms are becoming more popular, where they can do printing and group study sessions at the property rather than going back to the campus. So that's what we decided to focus our amenities towards. And then of course the rooftop decks. So, if you're going to the south, there's definitely, good reason to stick it in. But Maryland's kind of right on that line. It closes so fast. It doesn't make sense for us.
Right. So what's your long-term plan? You just want to keep doing multifamily, or are you going to diversify and do some commercial down the road, some industrial or office and retail?
Yeah, so long-term, next 5 years, I really want to build robust multifamily portfolio. Really targeted, focused. The team knows exactly what we're doing. We get really, really good at the systems. Put a lot more doors in the portfolio. And then really long-term, I like building inspirational kind of landmark projects, kind of similar to like what we're doing here in Salisbury, but more in the core market. So I really would like to build skyscrapers and truly groundbreaking developments that change communities, and that can be just a portion of our portfolio, but something that keeps everybody excited to come to work and make a difference.
Yeah, make it fun. Now, are you doing bringing outside investors in, or are you now just doing this on your own? Yeah,
we definitely syndicate our properties now. We're restructuring the equity on the Ross building right now because of COVID. And we're bringing in investors, accredited investors and sophisticated investors for this deal. They can certainly find more information at our website at simpsonbuilding.com. Okay. And in future projects, we like to work with people like yourself and do co-developments. And there's, as long as the opportunity works for all parties, and we're
well, I'll put the link to your website and the link to you, so if anybody has questions, they can reach out to you directly. And why don't we close this? Why don't you give us your best advice? What do you got? First time investor thinking about doing what you did. $7,000. Can't believe you started $7,000. That's
neither can I.
That took some.
Yeah.
What's your best advice?
I know it sounds a little bit cliche, but just get started. Just put the one foot in front of the next. Before you know it, you're in 8, 9, 10 years, or whatever it is. For the guys that you're looking at and going, wow, I wish I was them. It goes faster than you think. Just get involved. If it's not something you are super passionate about, like owning your own business, and you just want to have the real estate investment, find somebody like myself or like you who can be an honest, easy to reach person, and you can invest alongside them. But for those that are like sitting there, ready to take the plunge, just get started. Find a small house, do a small renovation. I've always found I don't push the fix and flip too much. It's not as safe, but I mean, you can make money. I'm not saying that, but it's not as safe. But the most amount of money the most consistent and most money I've ever made is the properties that we fixed up and rented out and then exit from.
Yeah, well, I think that's great advice, because as a new investor, it's so hard to take that first step. And we talk to people almost daily that are like, I don't know, I'm afraid to get started. And, at some point, just like any business, you've got to just start. So, all right. Well, Nick, thank you very much. And again, if any of you have questions for Nick, We will put his contact information below on the video. We'll put the link to his new building he's got going in Salisbury, Maryland. And Nick, thank you very much for coming on today. I think it was a wealth of information that somebody new can be very motivated with. So thank you.
Best of luck to them, and thanks for having me.
Yeah, and as always, folks, if you haven't done so, please do subscribe. Take care.